Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick.
This is a less hairy Justin.
It is indeed, with your Star Wars shirt with Kylo.
It's Kylo.
Just peeking his head out the bottom of the video there. Beautiful. It's time once again for the Hangar Bay, our weekly show where we talk about your submitted X-Wing lists.
And this week with the Galactic Empire.
Yes, indeed. So we've got a handful of new ships that are hyperspace legal. Yeah. Last week we had a look at the Star Viper, which was the one and only extra ship to enter into the Scum faction. We've got a couple for the Empire and a couple for the Rebellion. For the Empire, which we're talking about this week, we had the Interceptor and Bomber.
Yep, and for the Rebellion, we have the A-Wing and B-Wing.
Indeed. So we're going to start off talking about the TIE Interceptor. Let's talk about this ship, though. This is a fragile little mosquito.
It is, but it's nice.
It is nice. Slightly slower in the A-Wing because the 5-straight is white. Other than that, very, very similar to the A-Wing dial. Having 3 red dice does make it a bit more... It makes it a more tantalising ace, because basically the way people have always flown this ship is just defend, turtle, and eventually my 3 red dice will just keep hitting you, and the war of attrition will end up in me blowing up your ships.
Yeah, 3 dice compared to 2, it's big.
Huge. It's huge, and it's got evade. The old version of the TIE Interceptor, specifically with the pilot Sunderfell, was able to power out extra tokens. There's now no way to do that.
Yeah.
But we do get the auto thrusters built into it. This and the TIE Silencer are both able to do a red barrel roll or boost off the back of any action, which is seriously powerful. It's seriously powerful. Now, it can't focus evade like it used to be able to. You need to think more consciously about the way you fly it.
Yeah.
Still, being able to fly through gas clouds and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's another ship that benefits from gas clouds. Broken record.
I think gas clouds are really going to make things interesting now.
It's interesting. A lot of people are like me. I like them. I think the design's really cool. I get a lot of comments from people saying that they're going to ruin the game and everyone's going to take them. I think the right answer is somewhere in between. But yeah, look, another ship that really likes to play around with gas clouds, especially with that kind of action economy. It'll happily sacrifice those actions to get access to the guaranteed evade, like it always did in first edition with auto thrusters. Thankfully, this isn't as turtly as it used to be, where people would just take Sunderfell, just cheese out all the tokens every turn, guaranteed evade results, 4 dice. It was back in the environment where you knew exactly what your dice were going to do.
Yeah.
We're a long way from that
now.
now. Definitely. We'll talk more about Sunderfell when we have a look at the lists. But in terms of the platform, stats are 3 red dice, 3 agility, and just 3 hull, no shields.
Yeah, the actions are focus, barrel roll, boost, and evade.
And it's important to remember it's kind of like all of those actions link into a boost or barrel roll because of the way the baked-in ability works. It only has 2 modifications for the pilots that don't have any talents, which is pretty meh. I think this ship is sort of interested in afterburners now that it's come down to 6 points.
Yeah.
But its agency to take boosts is already really good, so it might be a little bit redundant.
I suppose if you've done a red S-loop or a K-turn, you might want to have a boost afterwards.
It is interesting. I've honestly found this ship more often than not just doesn't do its red actions unless it knows it definitely won't get shot.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Sunderfell players will agree with that. You basically save them in your back pocket for when you really, really need them, but most of the time you just turn on a dime, do those 1 hard turns, 2 hard turns to clear stress, or just jet forward, and it's so annoying to hit. It still is. It's not as difficult as it used to be. Like, once you line it up and get good positioning, you can take this off the board, unlike what Sunderfell was like in first edition. But yeah, it's a real solid platform. Now, actually, when we're talking about pilots, and we'll talk about these in a second when we get to the list, yes, most of the hype is around Suntir, but there's also a really good following for Turfanier on the casual side of things.
Yeah, now Turfanier's actually got quite an interesting ability here. After you perform an attack, you may perform a boost or barrel roll action, even if you are stressed.
And that has a very high ceiling, can be very, very powerful, because you can attack, barrel roll out of arcs, and then not get shot in return. Anything that can do that somehow is always potentially busted, but he's only initiative 4, so it's
Initiative 4 right now, as soon as the CIS and the Republic start getting more results, I think Initiative 4's going to become a bit more better.
It feels more and more relevant with every wipe, that's for sure. With things like General Grievous, some of those Jedi actually don't seem that bad at Initiative 4. It's just rough because anyone can take an Initiative 5 and then this ability becomes really clunky. Not terrible, but clunky. If your opponent is flying everything Initiative 5 and above, feels bad. Feels bad. But if they're not, powerful. Very, very powerful. It's kind of annoying against a Vulture Swarm because they just have so many guns. It's going to be very difficult to avoid all of them. Yeah. But I suppose avoiding some of them...
They've only got 2 red dice anyway, so...
That's true, that's true.
3 greens...
Hey, green dice can betray you. Don't get too excited about those green dice.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can evade and then eliminate some of their guns after you shoot. It's definitely powerful in the right situation. And that leads us onto this first list by one of our patrons, Psych J7.
Yeah, this has the TIE Reaper with Vizier with Darth Vader and Tactical Officer.
Turfanier has Duke, as do these 2 Saber Squadrons, who are also Initiative 4. And the patrons really made sure that I did a Turfanier list. And this I found the most interesting, because in terms of using Turfanier, this is like the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah, also hyperspace legal.
Yes, hyperspace legal indeed. Indeed, most of these lists that we're going to have a look at are all but one are hyperspace legal.
Yeah. Which
is good because that's what the conversation is going to be around now that it's entering into the format, especially with Sun Tefel.
Definitely, yeah.
But in this list, Turfanier with Duke, I actually really, really like that. Duke gives you upside on your attacks when you're evading. It's a very powerful card, definitely worth the 5 points it costs. It was definitely worth the 4, now it's still definitely worth the 5, even though it's gone up by a point. So it means when Turfanier gets shot first, he still has agency to shoot back with some decent upside.
Also, Vizier can coordinate quite efficiently with Tactical Officer there.
Yep, and his built-in ability, he can do it after he uses Adaptive Ailerons. Both the Tactical Officer and the ability take the coordinate action, so you can't do both. I don't think that matters too much.
No.
I think the best thing about this is you're able to give the TIE Interceptors evade tokens to activate their Dukes, and if you take a look at the auto thrusters, after perform an action you may perform a red barrel roll or boost. You can do that, activate, do a blue maneuver, do another action, and then auto thrusters again. So you can take 4 actions a turn. I don't know how good that is. You can boost, barrel roll, focus, and evade all in one turn. So Darth Vader is interesting because he can eliminate your opponent's green tokens. If that happens to be focus tokens, that gives you more upside with Duke.
Yeah, that feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels decent. Like, Vader is just a good card overall. Even at 14 points, I don't hate it one little bit.
No.
It's a nice bit of aggression. I like it on the TIE Reaper. I think it's fair on the TIE Reaper. I think not Whisper, TIE Reaper, good, happy, yes. People aren't going to complain about that kind of thing.
Yeah, also medium base feels good.
Yep, get a bit more reach. It's just a decent card overall. He works in your firing arc at range 0 to 2. That is a lot of control. This is the kind of aggressive effect we usually only get in bullseye firing arcs. But he's more expensive to counterbalance that, so that seems fair.
Yeah.
And look, really cool. I like that you've pushed Turfanier to the extent that you have. I like that there's way more upside to his actions. And end of the day, even if you're fighting against a player who's using all initiative 5s and 6s, the boost or the barrel roll that you get after you attack can still be used to set up the next turn. So the floor on Turfanier is clunky, not awful. That's what I'll say to you. And the ceiling is you just evade attacks. You shoot them, they can't shoot you back, and you just have a great time. So I like this. I like this a lot. Very cool idea. Hope to see Turfanier one day in some kind of a meta list.
That'd be nice.
It would be nice. It would be nice. But let's talk about Suntier, because Suntier is all of the hype. Moving on to this list by Eric Cologne. Before we talk about anything else, Suntier's ability at the start of the engagement phase, if there's an enemy ship in your bullseye firing arc, gain a focus token.
So this does have a range limitation of up to 3?
Yep, anything in any kind of arc must be up to 3. I think that's fair because, look, honestly, if it was beyond that, you wouldn't be defending from that ship anyway.
Yeah.
It means another opponent's ship that could be on the side if they're just beyond range 3. It's very, very niche situations. Sun Tefel, I really like the design of him in 2nd edition. And he seems to be performing well with very, very talented players. He was in a list in the last Australian Nationals, performed really, really well. In that particular list, the player took a 15-point bid. We don't have that here. I don't think we need a 15-point bid. It's nice to make sure you absolutely fly last with your initiative 5s and 6s. It's not crucial, though. Here we have a 10-point bid, and I think 10 points is, like 99.9% of the time, completely safe and correct. We've got a really fat support ship with Colonel Jendon flying alongside Sunterfell and Duchess on the TIE Striker.
Yeah, now Duchess has Duke the 5th brother and shield upgrade.
Suntia has Duke as well.
And Colonel Jendon has advanced sensors, jamming beam, Director Krennic, Grand Moff Tarkin, and the ST-321 title.
Yes, so this is Grand Moff Tarkin doing as much work as possible. I like him a little bit better alongside a TIE Swarm because you can get more target locks out. However, giving target locks to Sunterfell feels pretty good.
Yeah,
Feels pretty good.
he can't do it by himself, so...
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Duke on both Duchess and Sunterfell. Now, they have to manually take the action. There's no powering out of free evades. There's no extra combo with it on either pilot. What do you think of that?
I don't think it's really that bad because...
It's not bad. Definitely not bad, no.
No, because Grand Moff Tarkin's giving you the target locks because of Colonel Jendon at the start of the game.
It's freeing up your actions, so... what I feel like with Duke is it's costed against TIE Phantoms and TIE Defenders. It's not really costed to play it fairly, per se.
Yeah.
5 points is a lot. Like, usually Sunterfell just has Predator, and that's 3 points less, and you occasionally get another dice to re-roll, which is great when his ability activates and you get a focus token, and they're not shooting you. You just hammer them,
But at the same time, I don't think going to 13 points on a bid is really that necessary.
Absolutely. Like, I completely agree there. It's not significantly better than 10 points most of the time. I mean, look, Eric, you might have a different meta to ours, but we're pretty safe with a 10-point bid where we play.
Yeah. Also, Director Krennic is giving probably Sunterfell the optimized prototype ability.
That's true, yes, and you can push across even more damage. Yeah, that's a very good point. There is absolutely a case to put it on Duchess because of how aggressively she can fly.
Yeah, and especially with 5th brother on there as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or maybe you want to spread out like your attack buffs and have 5th brother on one and the optimized prototype on the other.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, 5th brother, while performing an attack, you can spend a force. He grants the platform 1 to change a focus to a critical.
Yeah.
And the main reason you take him is because he gives you a force token. His ability is just a little bit more upside, and he's only 9 points.
Yeah. Every so often you'll roll a focus and you don't have a focus token, and you go, I'll just spend that force.
That's it.
Keep Duchess alive.
Like, just beautiful on defense having the extra force. Duchess only rolls 2 agility, but you've also got Duke, so you're not likely going to take focus tokens. You're probably going to consistently take evade tokens unless you need to use some kind of repositioning ability. It does have barrel rolls. I'm not convinced on the shield upgrade. At the same time, the points are a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else you can put on.
Not really. I think the awkward thing about this is Duchess feels a bit bloated and the shuttle feels a bit bloated. You're really, if you're going to cut back on the points and make this a tighter version of this combo, you're going to probably not use Duchess. You're going to use a more expensive ship. If you're going to use this combination, I can't really fault anything going on. I just feel like Duchess is pushed a little bit too far in the points.
I'm wondering what you could do. Maybe take the Lambda to a TIE Reaper.
Yep, that's true.
And then you could probably even fit Vader on.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. Let's just build that out right now. Give me 1 second, folks. So the answer to that question is yes. You can change the Lambda to a Reaper, give it a decent pilot, and change Duchess to Darth Vader. However, that sort of gets into the next list that we're talking about, which does just that. Vader, Suntia, and a Scarif-based pilot.
Yeah, so the Scarif-based pilot has Scenery and Tactical Officer.
Vader has Hate and Fire Control System.
And Sunterfell has Predator, Afterburners, and Shield Upgrade.
And yes, when we slap on Shield Upgrade on Suntia, little alarms go off from my head. Yeah. That's not where we really want to be sinking the points. Look, I know a lot of people like to put shield upgrades on the Titanstone because they feel like it just pops too fast. I feel like if you're just putting points on it, it's just going to pop a little bit slower, but it's still going to pop.
Yeah.
I like to use points. I like to keep things efficient so they don't give off too much MAV. You focus on your flying rather than trying to take so many hits. Sunterfell should not be getting hit so frequently that he gets popped.
No.
He's not a Volta droid. And I think, if there wasn't obvious places that I would want to put points in this list, I'd be okay with it, but there is. Because we're using a Scarif-based pilot, I think it's absolutely worth looking at a named pilot.
Yeah, especially like you could do Vizier, which gives you the...
more agency over those coordinates.
And especially with Sienna Ray there.
Yep, absolutely. I completely agree.
Coordinate just feels so good there.
Absolutely. We could also look at Major Vermeil. And then you could do Major Vermeil and Duke, but then you have no bid at all. If you just change it to Major Vermeil and cut that shit upgrade, you have a 9-point bid. So the question is, what kind of thing do you prefer? Do you really want to supercharge that ability, just put in Vizier? Then you've still got a 13-point bid. That feels great. I've got no complaints over that Vader build. Hate fire control is just nuts. If anything, you'd just be trimming those off when you can't afford them. But you can afford them here. No missiles, no modifications, absolutely fine. I spoke about afterburners before. The fact that Sunterfell already has great agency to get those boosts, but just a little bit of extra insurance is okay for 6 points.
Yeah.
Used to be 8 points, and I would have felt that was a bit bloated, but I don't mind it for 6 points.
Yeah, Sunterfell sitting at 60 points, I don't have a problem with that.
No, not at all. Not at all. With that afterburners, he's 54 points. It's a very aggressively costed pilot.
Yeah, I was not going to say maybe you could switch Predator to something a bit more expensive if you really wanted to, but
I think Predator's fine.
I don't think you need to.
You could think about Lone Wolf or Duke if you really like Duke. I don't think this list is interested in those kind of things.
No.
Predator's great because you can just use Suntir as a value machine that keeps evading, just dodges attacks. Finally, he catches one of your opponent's ship in his bullseye firing arc, focuses up, gets a reroll, and just hammers them.
Yeah.
Again, it's really good with skilled players, and I like that. I like that design in general. The only thing I'd say is just get rid of that short upgrade. Think about a different pilot on the Reaper, but I like this kind of approach. Like an old Palpaces list.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind flying something like this at some stage.
Absolutely. Got to be very careful with the decision making in this because one bad position can lose you Suntir. You're probably safe with Vader for one hit, but you've got to be very careful.
Yeah.
Good thing is here, there's lots of agency with all those coordinates and shenanigans you got there. And Sienna Ray. Yeah.
Sienna Ray changing the ship before it even moves.
Yes, making them boost or barrel roll, then turn 90 degrees, and then that ship can activate, do a blue maneuver, and then do everything. Yeah. It's great. It's really good. This is the list for Sienna Ray, by the way.
Definitely.
Hopefully, and we need to talk about this, the Interceptor clearly needs more pilots. We were talking about Carnal Jax before. Yeah. Sienna Ray is another one that people are just screaming at FFG. Come on, put Sienna Ray in a TIE Interceptor.
Didn't realise that she was an Interceptor pilot.
Yeah, she's she's a squadron leader in Armada.
Cool.
Yeah. Which it makes sense that her card goes so well alongside TIE Interceptors, for sure. Anyway, let's move on to our final list here by Ben Bradford with Sunterfell, Vader, Duchess, and Wampa.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. You've got Sunterfell with Predator.
Vader has fire control system.
Duchess has Lone Wolf.
And Wampa is just Wampa. Don't put things on Wampa. I completely agree with that. Wampa is one of these things that if your opponent ignores it, it punishes you in return. It's like null on the first order. And those ships generally perform better without upgrades because you don't want to entice your opponent to shoot it, especially considering everything else is just trimmed right back. We don't even have hate on Vader. I'd love to be able to see that. I mean, if we want to look at hate on Vader, you could think of a different talent on Duchess. I do like Lone Wolf. I don't have anything against it.
No.
However,
I suppose it means that you're then going to be flying a certain way.
Yeah, if you had Predator or a trick shot or something, you'd then have 3 more points, and then, you'd just put hate on Vader. Yeah. Lone Wolf is expensive at 5 points. I'm not entirely convinced it's really getting there. It's only one reroll. I know it's flexible, works on offense and defense, But unless there's a great reason to have rerolls, and Duchess is just a good ace with a lot of positioning, she's likely to get out of range 2 of your friendly ship, so she's more likely to activate it. I just don't know if the payoff is there.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about trick shot, but if you have trick shot,
We always talk about trick shot.
You've got an extra dice, and that's nearly as good as a reroll, it, or if not better. Sometimes.
Well, an extra dice is better than a reroll, but not by much. A reroll is basically an extra dice, but if you roll all results anyway, it's worse than extra dice.
Yeah.
It's only worth less in very tight situations. If you thought about trick shot, you could put hate on Vader, and you're still using the same points, or Predator. I really like Predator on aces. Because Duchess has a lot of repositioning abilities, advanced ailerons which you can turn on or off and barrel roll. Probably just go for Predator, have rerolls that you can use within range 1 to 2 of your friendly ships, give Vader hate, and that just feels a little bit more solid to me. But having said that, it really comes down to the way you fly. If you really like Lone Wolf, you really find it gives Duchess a bit more value. I just love hate. I just love hate. It's a great card.
Yeah.
You're not going to argue with that.
I can only sing its praises. It keeps ships alive.
Yep, and Vader can burn through his force tokens if he wants to. Hate's a really, really powerful card. So I think it's always in the conversation. Also, notice in the last couple of lists we spoke about, Suntia is pretty much just filler. I mean, let's be honest. It works well with Sienna Ray and stuff, but appreciate the fact that it's 54 points and it's an Initiative 6 ace, which is capable of performing at a very high level. And I think that's the key thing. It's fragile, yes, but the upside you get from learning how to fly it, being very careful with it, you can get a lot of upside out of that.
54 points doesn't feel like a lot, and especially if you can then take it down ships that are worth a lot more, you're feeling pretty good about yourself.
It's only a slightly more than a quarter of the full 200 points. Usually aces that perform really, really, really well, we expect them to be around like the 1/3 of your list, like 66 points plus.
Yeah, I was going to say 70 to 80 sort of thing.
Yeah, like if you get like Kylo and that kind of thing, or Poe. But Sunderfell can pop, and I think that's the key thing. That's the reason it is cheaper. It's also the reason I think FFG, and I know I've been banging this drum for quite a while now, should look at making Fen Rao a bit cheaper. Fen Rao is definitely better than Sunderfell. I just don't think the points gap between them is quite necessary. But in any point, the TIE Interceptor looking really, really cool. I don't think it should go up in points.
No.
I really like where it's at. I'm very excited to see it in hyperspace because it's a very fun ship.
And I think if we get a squad pack with this in it, we might get some extra pilots as well, which would be nice.
Different paint jobs, yeah. I'm looking at you, Colonel Jackson, Sienna Ray. I don't think this ship is suffering, but I definitely feel like there's a deficit of pilots here.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on that. Anyway, guys, in the comments section below, next week will be Rebel, and we'll either be on the B-Wing or A-Wing. So I'm just telling you now, if you submit lists with both B-Wings and A-Wings, there's a very high chance it'll make it into one of these videos.
Look, we're not saying add layer as well, but...
It layers pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, layers pretty good. Also, we don't have a lot of lists submitted from the Rebellion since the points changed, so we need more lists for that to talk about next week. So please, in the comment section, all the pilots and upgrades with the link to that list within your favorite squad builder, yet another squad builder, the official app, or Launch Bay Next can't give you links, but that's okay if you're only able to do that, I understand. But if you can give a link, it's super, super helpful.
It makes our job so much easier.
Absolutely. If you're on the Patreon Discord, just drop it into the relevant channel there. Oh, patrons, also, please, links. We should mention that as well. We've got a patron submitted list without links, and that's fine. Look, I'm not going to split hairs over the patron list, but if you can add the link, it does help a lot. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Reddit. Please consider supporting the Patreon. Thank you so much to all of the existing patrons, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.